Welcome aboard this Aban installation. It is our vision to be the leading global offshore drilling company, a vision we want you to share with us. To achieve our mission, we seek your total support at all times. Through this induction, we want to share with you the QHSE policies and objectives of Aban. More importantly, this induction will help you understand the basic safety tools and emergency procedures in use on this installation. These have been designed to help us reach and sustain our goal of zero incidents on board. We collectively share this responsibility as safety is a precondition to your being here. Each one of us is individually accountable for actively using these tools to ensure the safety of all personnel, this installation and the environment. On arrival, report to the briefing room where you will fill in the arrival log and then be briefed on the safe practices in force on this installation. You will be given a welcome aboard card. Read this card carefully as it provides information which is very important for your safety. You will also be assigned a cabin number, a lifeboat and a muster station and handed over a T card for your muster station. Take note of all safety equipment in your work area and your living quarters. A timeout for safety license will also be given to you. This authorizes you to call a timeout for safety whenever you perceive an unsafe act or situation. If you have any doubt, please ask. Remember to note down the emergency number in force on this installation. The offshore installation manager or the man in charge carries the overall responsibility of the health and safety of all personnel on board. You will meet him during your induction. In addition, department heads and supervisors are always available to give advice on safety matters. Please make sure that you attend the daily or pre-task safety meetings conducted by the man in charge or your supervisor. On arrival, you must complete the personal medical form. You must declare to the medic if you suffer from any medical condition, you take any medicines, and you wear contact lenses. The medic will take note of the same and file your papers. If you fall sick or get injured while on board, report to the rig medic immediately. The rig has a sick bay with comprehensive first aid facilities. When you arrive on the rig, you will be given your own personal protective equipment or PPE. Abide by PPE signs at all locations. Whenever you are outside the accommodation, wear the required PPE, which includes safety boots, gloves, coveralls, safety glasses, and a hard hat with chin straps. Take good care of your PPE and make sure it is in good condition always. Some specialized or potentially high-risk activities may require special PPE and controls like special gloves, face shields, goggles, or respirator masks. Use insulated tools while handling electrical equipment. The Green Hat policy has been designed to identify and help new personnel and newly promoted personnel become familiar with specific aspects of this installation during their first assignment. You will be required to wear a green hat for up to 6 months. Your supervisor or mentor will provide you with further details of this system. Living on the rig demands the highest standards of cleanliness and personal hygiene. Remember, you are living in close proximity to other people and your actions affect them. Respect the rest times of others. Stay quiet in the accommodation area. Living quarters must be kept clean and tidy at all times. Keep your clothes and boots in the changing room only. Keep tools in the workshop. Do not use your locker as a toolbox. Helmets, work boots, sleeveless t-shirts and coveralls, and dirty work clothes are not permitted in the accommodation area, mess room and recreation room. Mess hall timings are prominently displayed. Make sure you strictly adhere to the prescribed times allocated for meals. Items that are strictly prohibited on board the rig include alcohol, drugs, knives and weapons. Any flashlights must be explosion-proof. The use of cameras on board is restricted and requires permission of the offshore installation manager or the man in charge and is controlled by the permit to work system. Fighting and horseplay is also prohibited on board. Jewelry such as earrings, finger rings, necklaces and watches with metal straps are strictly prohibited while working on this installation. Watches with non-metal straps must be worn snug to the wrist and must have a strap that will break away if snagged. Smoking on board the rig is restricted. You will be allowed to smoke only in designated areas which are identified by a sign. Usage of mobile phones on board is restricted and requires the permission of the offshore installation manager or the man in charge. If you have a mobile phone when you arrive on the rig, make sure that you declare it to the man in charge or the person designated by him. If you are arriving on or departing from the installation by the personnel basket, follow these precautions. Don a work vest and place bags or equipment inside the basket. All activities undertaken on board the rig must follow prescribed safety policies and procedures. These are detailed in the Aban Safety Management System. The Aban QHS&E Manual contains the quality, health, safety and environmental policies and procedures. Controlled copies of this manual can be viewed on the Aban intranet portal. Uncontrolled copies are also available on board in printed form and on CDs. The Aban QHS&E Handbook provides an overview of the Aban Safety Management System. Other important safety tools used on board are the Job Risk Assessment, that is JRA, and the Permit to Work system. The Job Risk Assessment Procedure, or JRA, is a formal two-part process. Every job must first be planned using the Aban Job Planning Outline. From this plan, the associated hazards and risks identified should be discussed and assessed. Management controls should then be introduced to either eliminate or reduce these hazards to an acceptable level using the JRA risk matrix. The JRA prompt card is also available to everybody to risk assess less complex tasks, but should never be used in place of the formal two-part job risk assessment process. Always ensure that all safety controls are in place and that all personnel participating in the task are fully aware and understand their role in the plan before the task begins. The JRA is mandatory for certain jobs and may require a work permit. The permit to work procedure covers tasks that require a permit. The work permit system allows everyone in the line of command to know exactly where and when a particular job will be carried out. The work permit must be signed by the OIM or the man in charge, the issuing authority and the performing authority. As soon as the job is completed, the work permit must be closed. For this, it must be signed at the work site by the issuing authority and ultimately the OIM or the man in charge. Jobs that require a work permit are divided into two categories: hot work and cold work. There are two supplementary certificates, namely the isolation and confined space entry certificates. Work in confined spaces requires a special permit. When work is carried out in a confined space, the work area must be free from hazardous gases and a colleague must always be present. A number of safety and hazard warning notices and signs are strategically located around the rig. These warn you of the presence of hazards, the need for special protective equipment, or they may direct you to escape routes or safety equipment. Pay attention to these as they contain information vital to your safety whilst you are on board. The rig fire and safety plan gives details of the location of the life-saving and firefighting equipment, the emergency equipment, and escape routes. The rig station bill informs you of the actions you must take during an emergency and when a rig alarm sounds. Take care of your ears. Most of the areas outside the accommodation represent a noise hazard. Ensure you wear ear protection when you're working in or passing through high noise areas. Watertight doors pose a serious pinch point hazard and have been the cause of many serious hand injuries. Always use the main handle and follow simple precautions when opening, closing, and passing through watertight doors. Keep all watertight doors closed when not in use. If you witness an accident, call the emergency number immediately. Assess the risk, do what you can to help the casualty, but do not move the injured person unless there is an immediate danger. All movements on board must be carried out safely. Follow the designated walkways and do not obstruct them. Wherever you are, keep a quick escape route in mind in case of an emergency. When ascending or descending stairs anywhere on the rig, at least one hand should be kept free to hold the handrail at all times. Always use the trailing hand technique when descending. If your job involves handling chemicals, always refer to the materials safety data sheets before you start. Always ensure that all personal protective equipment and controls are in place before you handle or use chemicals. When an area is cordoned off with a barrier tape, follow the indications for an alternate route without crossing the zone. Never cross the barrier tape. Statistically, handling and lifting are the main causes of accidents and injuries. Lifting equipment is controlled by a strict color coding system. Only equipment that displays the current approved color should be used for any rigging operation. This means that the lifting equipment has been inspected and is safe to use. Never walk beneath a hanging load. When working at heights of 6 feet and above, make sure you wear a full body harness. Check the harness, hook and lanyards. Always respect the instructions and recommendations of the manufacturer. If you observe an unsafe behavior or condition while on board this installation, it is your responsibility to call a timeout for safety by making the T sign and to then have a conversation with the individual performing that task. It is imperative that the individual is allowed to identify the area of concern himself and to recommend and agree to the change required so as to ensure a safe outcome. This behavioral-based safety process is known as the SMART monitoring process at Aban, and it is essential that all personnel use this process to help achieve the vision of an incident-free workplace. The process can also be used to commend and reinforce safe and efficient behavior, so remember to apply its principles during your stay. SMART stands for See, Monitor, Act, Reinforce, Track. Use the SMART system to report and record your observations, and remember, at-risk behavior is the single most important cause of all incidents. Use the SMART card to make notes of observations and relevant corrective actions. The purpose of the SMART card is not to identify and punish the individuals concerned, but to prevent these situations from occurring again. Use these cards to report any improvements and positive observations too. Effective usage of SMART cards is rewarded at periodic intervals. Prevention of incidents is given very high priority by Aban. Good housekeeping is one of the most effective measures to achieve this. Tidy workplace, clear walkways, and clean deck surfaces are simple preventative measures. Watch out for slips and trips while moving on board. Clear up all spills and puddles immediately. Avoid moving under overhead loads or cranes or below forklifts. A life jacket or work vest is mandatory while working over water. Wear a full body safety harness while working aloft at heights of 6 feet and above. Report any defects or unsafe conditions and all near hits and incidents to your supervisor. Follow warning signs completely at all times. We all share the responsibility of protecting the environment. Proper waste management is an integral part of this commitment. Handle waste properly and dispose it off in the correct containers. Do not throw anything overboard. Clean up all spills. If you see a spill or anything that could damage the environment, report it immediately. Then barrier off the area to stop it from spreading and clean it up. Environmental spill kits are also available on board for use as directed by your supervisor. If you are required to board a helicopter, carefully follow the instructions of the helicopter landing officer on the helideck. At Aban, our safety systems have been designed to ensure an incident-free workplace. However, we are also prepared with emergency plans for situations where things may not happen as planned. Pay careful attention to the procedures to be followed during an emergency on board. Your life and that of your colleagues depends on it. The alarms generally used are the abandoned rig alarm, the general emergency or fire alarm, the H2S alarm, and the combustible gas alarm. These alarms are listed in the Welcome Aboard card and the station bill. They may differ from installation to installation, so please check these with your installation's safety representative and familiarize yourself with them. In noisy areas, the alarms are backed up by flashing lights. Familiarize yourself with these visual alarms when you first come on board. All alarms will be followed by PA announcements, so listen carefully. If the fire alarm sounds while you are working, immediately stop what you're doing and shut down and secure any equipment you are using. Suspend any work being controlled by the permit system and proceed to your muster station. If you have been appointed an emergency team member, please ask the safety officer about your emergency duties and refer to the station bill. If you are in the accommodation, when the alarm rings, don your life jacket, wear closed footwear, and proceed to your designated muster point. Do not carry any personal belongings. The paths to the muster point are clearly marked. Make yourself familiar with these as soon as you come on board. At the muster station, you will find extra life jackets. Don a life jacket if you're not already wearing one. Remove your T-card from the T-card muster cabinet, turn the T-card around and replace it in the cabinet. Then line up in rows with the other group members and wait for instructions. No open shoes or sandals are to be worn. In case of a fire, follow the instructions for general alarm unless you have been designated special responsibilities. If the place you are in is infested with smoke, you are advised to use a smoke hood or rescue hood and use the appropriate moving technique to leave the smoke-infested area. Find out from your safety officer on the specific steps to deal with such situations on this installation. If the abandoned rig alarm sounds, muster at your lifeboat station. If you're inside the accommodation, don't forget to take the life jacket from your room. If the lifeboats are to be boarded, obey the instructions of the coxswain, sit where you are told and strap yourself in. Alternate means of escape are also available. These include life rafts. Learn the location and the launching instructions of these rafts. In addition, there are escape ladders for emergency escape to sea level. Familiarize yourself with their locations. All over the rig, there are manual systems and automatic detectors for gas, H2S, heat, flames, and smoke. In the event that you discover smoke or fire, call the emergency number immediately. Then, operate the nearest fire call point alarm. Attempt to put out the fire with the nearest suitable equipment only if there is no risk of personal danger. Remember that different types of fire require different extinguishers. Find out about the impact of hydrogen sulfide gas and combustible gases on this installation. Understand the specific safety measures to be taken. If someone falls overboard, immediately remove a life buoy from its housing and throw it towards the person in the water. Raise the alarm, but always keep the man in sight. Get someone to call the emergency number immediately and give the person's location. The person in charge will then coordinate the rescue operation. To enable the crew to respond quickly to any emergency situation, drills and training sessions are held regularly. You must participate in these drills. Every drill begins with an alarm and ends with a public announcement. At Aban, incidents are investigated by trained personnel in a systematic manner using the Aban Star Cap process. This process chronicles events, evaluates all contributing factors, and identifies the root causes which led to the incident. Lessons learned are communicated throughout the company. Aban considers training, both in-house and external, of paramount importance so that all Aban personnel are equipped with necessary competencies to achieve our objective of an incident-free workplace for all. To summarize, let's just run through some of the main points. The information that you will be given during your induction tour is important, so pay attention. Study the station bill's life-saving plans carefully. If you have any questions on anything you may be unsure of, speak to your supervisor or the safety training coordinator. You are required to attend all safety meetings, but if you have anything to report, please report it to your supervisor immediately. When you are working, whatever you are doing, wherever you are, be aware of what's going on around you at all times. Pay attention to all signs and notices. Be familiar with all emergency alarms and procedures. Treat all emergency drills and exercises as the real thing. At Aban, we care. We share with you the responsibility for your personal safety and well-being, together with the protection of our equipment and the environment. Your commitment is vital to ensure incident-free operations at all times. You are the key. Remember, we want you to return to your family and loved ones in good health. Help us to help you to help yourself. Thank you for your attention. Please work safely and enjoy your stay on board. Many thanks to all Aban personnel who assisted in this production.